concentrate on a task or follow up on a call. Do something to get your If you're going to be effective as a security officer, you have to know what is going on in and around the area that you're assigned to protect. Hello and welcome to the PSTN Basic Security Officer Training Series. I'm Bill Jackson. To protect people and property, you must be a good observer and attentive to detail. You must be able to see changes in your environment which could indicate possible problems. Patrol, therefore, can be defined as the act of moving about a facility to provide protection and to conduct observations of activities with the intent being the security and safety of the area. But it's also fair to say that the needs of a particular area or even a particular organization might be the deciding factors in what type of patrol activity you'll be involved in. Regardless of the assignment or task, there are certain elements of the patrol function that are common to all applications. The purposes of patrol can be any or all of the following. First, the detection of criminal or unauthorized activity. Depending on the specific needs of the organization, this could include such things as trespassing, noise violations, safety violations, alcohol violations, parking problems, and even lease violations by a tenant. In order for you to do this well, you'll have to make yourself as familiar as possible with the requirements of a particular zone or assignment and keep up with the changes that are bound to occur. Prevention and deterrence of crime and unauthorized activities. Visibility is the key here. It's called creating an omnipresence of security in a particular area. Bad guys will get the idea that this area is not a good one to try to take advantage. Ensure compliance with organizational policy is another function. Every work area has rules and regulations that are in place to help promote safety. This is called the enforcement agent role of security. Those places that don't have many rules still have to be concerned about governmental guidelines and restrictions. By applying the policies and rules in a fair and equitable manner, you are also becoming engaged in activities that will promote understanding within the organization. This is called community relations, and it's also an important function of patrol. Let's move on to assets, reports, and the recording of loss-causing situations or circumstances. What we're talking about here is all types of fire, safety, or health situations. They may range from chemical spills, leaking pipes, to dirty or unsanitary conditions. Anything that poses a threat to the health or safety of the people in your patrol area should receive your attention. We call this the intelligence agent role of security. Next, handle calls as assigned by dispatch or by your supervisor. People in a work area come to rely on security personnel as problem solvers. The type and kind of call that you might get can be a real challenge to your skills as a service provider. Just remember that no call is too small to receive your best effort. This is known as the management representative role of security. Security must test and inspect the physical security system, alarms, lights, sensors, cameras, electronic barriers, and anything else that's mechanical that has to be checked from time to time. You want to make sure that the equipment works. That's your job too. The security must act as a compensatory measure during system outages. If the power shuts down or the system has a malfunction, it's the security officer who is called upon to stand by until the problem is fixed. This could be a matter of minutes or it could be a matter of days. Either way, we have to be ready to stand at post until the situation returns to normal and the problem has been dealt with. Respond to emergencies. While this aspect of the job might be on the extreme edge of the service provider function, it is still something that we are required to do when an emergency comes up. Sometimes the emergency is ours from the beginning to the end, and sometimes we're only required to be there until help arrives. Either way, our function at this time is critical to the security of the area. We have to keep our equipment and ourselves ready for anything. Next, performance of other duties as required by management. It's usually the last line on the job description, but it's the one that causes us to work the most. What we must remember is that we're service providers. Any opportunity that we are given to expand our influence in the field of safety and security should be welcomed. These golden opportunities to talk about safety or security or loss prevention can come to us when we least expect them. Some pretty terrific security work gets done on assignments where it looks like it may not have much to do with security at all. The patrol function is the bread and butter of our business. The more contacts we make on patrol, the more effective we will be in protecting those who are counting on us. Get out there and see what's going on. It's the only real way to find out. The patrol function itself can be broken down into two basic types, foot patrol and mobile patrol. Let's take a look at both and at some of the ways you can be more effective at performing either one. Foot patrol can be either inside or outside and can have a set route or be random in nature. Foot patrol is probably the best way to get to know a patrol area well. It allows you to look at things close and inspect things with the luxury of time that mobile patrol doesn't allow. It's also a great opportunity to talk with other people in the area and start to develop contacts and information sources that are critical to the job. It's also possible to get closer to an area that may require increased coverage without being seen by possible intruders. The elements can come into play too. Cold, wind, rain, or excessive heat can sometimes make foot patrol impractical. Now let's talk about mobile patrol. The most common type of mobile patrol is by some type of motor vehicle. You can cover a very large area that way, and you're also pretty well protected from the elements. Vehicle use also allows you the luxury of carrying extra equipment to include emergency lighting and long-range radios. More and more security organizations are using bicycles to patrol suitable areas, such as parking lots and parks. These provide a great deal of mobility and still allow for interaction with the community. Specialized training is required for bike patrol work. Some security organizations rely on the use of horses to augment their patrol operation. Horse patrol has a tremendous deterrent effect and could also be used effectively in security and community relations program. The expense is sometimes worth the return. Once again, specialized training is required for both the horse and the rider. The type and style of patrol may vary from location to location and might even change from day to day. The key to the success of patrol has to do with the elimination of opportunity for a criminal to commit a criminal act. The patrol function is guided by a set of principles that have been developed over time. They're universal in nature and apply to patrol functions of any type or duration and at any location in the country. Apply these principles and the patrol function will be as effective as it potentially can be. Patrol should always be done in a random fashion. No matter if you are walking, driving, or riding, try to be as unpredictable as you can. Double back, backtrack, and change routes. Remember, if you are predictable, you're vulnerable. The frequency of patrol should be random. If people can set their watches by the times that you patrol a certain area, you're in trouble. A security threat or intrusion is just a matter of time. Communication is critical. You have to keep people informed as to where you are and what you're doing. Good radio techniques require you to speak clearly, key the microphone before you start talking, and use good radio procedures. Document what you see. In the security business, the old rule is simple. If you don't write it down, it didn't happen. If there's any doubt, write it out. When the job of being a professional security officer is melted down to its most basic element, here's what we're left with. The ability to observe people, happenings, and things with discrimination, and the ability to translate these observations into actions necessary to protect life and property. You are, in fact and in practice, a trained observer. The key to becoming an effective observer centers on teaching yourself to organize your attention. This means that you have to have the ability to use your senses efficiently. This ability is what separates the amateurs from the professionals. A professional security officer can do the following: see a problem developing, can give an accurate description of people and things, can identify indicators of deception, is confident in his or her ability. So, how do you go about using your senses in the proper manner? You do this by appreciating the abilities and the limitations that you have with regard to those five senses. First, sight. Visibility of an object depends on three things: distance, size, and illumination. Problems with sight center around two things. First, your position, and second, your perception of what you see. Hearing. You should be able to recognize and differentiate these basic types of sounds. Activity noises, such as footsteps, glass breaking, cars starting, vehicles moving, etc. Noises generated anytime a stationary object becomes a mobile one. Next, voices. Volume, pitch, possible gender, accents, age, and any other unique characteristics associated with a particular voice. Motors and engines. Cars, diesels, electric motors, fans, drills, power tools. Basically, anything powered by an electric motor or a combustion engine. Firearms, rifles, shotguns, pistols, firecrackers, car backfires, most types of explosions and loud reports associated with various types of weapons. The third sense is smell. You need to concentrate on dangerous types of odors such as gasoline and petroleum products, natural gas, gunpowder, chlorine, and other gases. Smoke from various types of fires. Remember, some smells, like gasoline and ether, temporarily dull your sense of smell. The longer you're exposed to an odor, the less distinguishable it becomes. Touch. This sense can give you vital information about such things as pulses of injured people, heat from fires behind doors and walls, movement inside motor vehicles, warmth from running engines and motors, textures of cloth and paper, and finally, cracks in doors and windows. Keep your hands clean and be very careful about what you touch. Taste. Never taste any substance you cannot visually identify. It looks really cool on TV shows, but it's extremely stupid. Poison comes in many forms. We can learn a good lesson from the people who work in an environment that relies heavily on observation and perception. Jet fighter pilots. Top Gun pilots are trained to use what is called an OODA loop. OODA stands for observe, orient, decide, act. Observe what is going on in the environment. Orient yourself to the threat and weigh your options. Decide on what the best course of action would be. Act quickly, decisively, and completely, then do it all over again. It can be a very effective technique for security officers as well. Observe, orient, decide, and act. Observation and perception are so important to the effectiveness of a professional security officer that some basic rules have been developed for enhancing those skills. Rule number 1, nothing is routine. That statement has caused a great deal of pain and suffering for people in the protection business. Awareness has to be constant. Rule number 2, know what the people around you are doing. Are they A, acting nervous, B, hiding, C, running, D, motioning with hands or arms? Rule number 3, know what the people around you are saying. Are they A, arguing, B, threatening, C, gossiping? Rule number 4, know where you are exactly. Street, a building, the address, floor, specific location, and the direction, north, south, east, or west. Rule number 5, know where cover is at all times. Cover is something that protects you from something else. Concealment only keeps you from being seen. They're not the same. Rule number 6, use what is available to help you observe. Mirrors, reflection in glass, for instance. Remember, observation always precedes perception. You have to observe it before you can react to it. Perception is defined as an experience that has acquired meaning. Stimuli must be sent to the brain, recognized and understood. The stimuli form the basis for conscious action. Faulty observations naturally lead to faulty decisions. You can use these 5 guidelines to help you determine what's happening. First, objects are not perceived as single items isolated from each other. When things happen in the midst of other things, we tend to focus too much on the group. Look at what's going on in the center of the activity. Next, perceptions do not correspond with actual physical dimensions. Big trucks look like they're moving faster than they really are because of their size. Sports cars look like they're going fast because of their shape. Colors can sometimes distort dimension too. Next, circumstances may produce stress which affects perception. Seeing something horrible or catastrophic may cause the amateur to assume things are different or worse than they really are. Next, emotional involvement may distort perception. It's possible to get too upset to really comprehend what has happened. Stay calm. Lastly, stay focused on the stimuli. Don't just look. Detach and observe. Gather facts, not assumptions or emotions. Being a good observer is a skill that you can teach yourself. In order for you to develop into an effective observer, you must be able to do the following things. 1. Observe with all your senses. Learn to trust your instincts because you've been sharpening them to their optimum performance. 2. Stay mentally aware of what you see. Try to describe what you observe, not what you thought you observed. 3. Learn to distinguish detail from generality. Concentrate on the specific, but keep an eye on the general. 4. Be conscientious of time relationships. Nothing happens all at once. Chronology can help sort things out and make the confusing sensible. 5. Learn to recognize what different colors look like. 6. Observe something from the general to the specific. Work from the outside edge of an incident toward the inside action. Gather in all that you can. 7. Remember that memory changes. Write it down. And finally, 8. Use the interrogatories who, what, when, where, how, and why. Our counterparts in the public sector are trained to use a device called the Cooper Color Code to remain perceptive while they're on duty. Here's how it works. White, relaxed, not taking too much notice. This is fine at home. It's not good at work. Yellow, aware of your surroundings. You know where the cover is. You know where help is. Watchful of people and events, and cautious at all times. Red, threatened, situation is turning bad, time to react. Black, life or death situation. Now, which color should you be in? You're right, stay in yellow. Anything less than that, and you're not observing or being perceptive. You're simply asking for trouble. In addition to the Cooper Color Code, you can also borrow a few other techniques from our police colleagues for patrolling in the darkness. First, avoid silhouetting yourself while on patrol. You choose when you want to be seen. Don't linger in areas that are backlit or that show your presence too clearly unless you want to be seen. Practice light and noise discipline. Don't walk around with your flashlight on all the time. Use it when you need to see something, and only use it in small flashes. Patrol quietly. Tuck keys in your pockets and try not to rattle them around too much. Always play the what if game. What if you should see something in a secured area? What if there's an intruder in the area when you respond to an alarm? What if there's a fire beyond a warm door? Always think in the what if mode to keep ready and alert for what might happen. While working at a fixed post may not be patrolling in the real sense of the word, the same principles and guidelines still apply. Fixed posts are a part of almost all security operations. They can be permanent or temporary. While on fixed post duty, you must keep in mind that you are essentially on display. You must assume that someone is going to be watching everything you do. Therefore, it's critical to the operation that fixed post duty be done in a professional manner. With that in mind, it's suggested that you concentrate on the following guidelines when you find yourself assigned to fixed post duty. 1. The mission or objective of the post should be clearly understood. Read your post orders and get a firm fix on the reason why you're there in the first place. 2. Duties should be read and understood. The post orders will not only show you why you're there, they'll also show you what you're expected to do. 3. Post orders should be kept to those who have a need to know. 4. Use the same light and noise discipline that you would on mobile patrol or foot patrol. 5. Make sure that all your equipment is working the way it's supposed to. Once you assume control of the post, you are responsible for all of the equipment that's on the post. If it didn't work when you got there and you accepted it, then it's your problem. When you are relieved on post, you should brief the relief officer thoroughly. Some places even use a post-relief checklist. 7. In a high-threat situation, such as a strike or labor disturbance, you should always maintain a retreat route, just in case. Remember, safety comes first. Be comfortable, but not too comfortable. Don't allow a situation to be created where you could get sleepy or inattentive. Make sure the fixed post is visible from some other location or patrol area. 10. Never leave your post until you've been properly relieved. Fixed post duty doesn't have to be boring. It can be one of the busiest locations in the work site. Remember that when you're working a fixed post, you're essentially in a fishbowl. Stay alert, stay active, and stay ready. Now for some practical tactics for patrols and fixed posts. 1. Be unpredictable on patrol. Keep people guessing. 2. Stay active. Try to create the impression that there is more than one of you out there moving around. 3. Dress right. Proper shoes and protective clothing for the weather is important. 4. Check out your equipment prior to actually needing it. 5. Every response is a tactical response. Know the best ways in and out of any location. 6. Become the hide-and-seek champion of your patrol area. You should be able to find anyone, anywhere. 7. Know exactly where the emergency shutoffs are for all utilities in your area and the fastest way to get to them. 8. Learn to patrol in 2 modes, very visible and almost invisible. You'll need to use both of them. 9. Use all of your security senses. Watch, listen, sniff, and touch. And finally, trust your instincts. If you think something is wrong or out of place, stay with the feeling until you figure out what it is. Be stubborn. Well, that's our program on patrols and fixed posts. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on PSTN.